Welcome to the Business Mumma podcast, where we chat about creating a business that supports and flows with your family and with your life, not the other way around. Hi, I'm your host, Annalise Swan. I'm a marketing agency owner and a mother of 3 little ones. I'll be bringing you conversations with successful women in business, as well as practical marketing strategies and tips that you can action right away. So let's get into it.
In today's podcast, I interviewed Joanne Love. Now, her official bio is very impressive. With over 25 years' experience as a high-performance expert, Joanne knows what it takes to succeed in any environment. She's passionate about helping others realize their full potential through the implementation of psychology and neuroscience. She's worked with schools, athletes, and business executives to achieve impressive outcomes. These include Olympic potentials who have gone on to achieve high levels of success, including Olympic gold and world champion titles. Now, you'll hear in this interview a little bit of Joanne's story. As she says in her own words, she wears many hats, which started off as a swimming coach and has now moved on to really digging in deep into goal setting and the research behind what it takes to set really effective goals. I really enjoyed this conversation with Joanne, as I'm sure you would, as we break down the process of setting goals and get really, really practical about daily, weekly, monthly, yearly goal setting, and then the mindset that it is going to take to achieve those big goals and what you can do to improve that and get that courage and confidence that you need to achieve them. So without further ado, I will leave you with this interview with Joanne, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Hi, Joanne. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm really excited about this conversation. I've been reading your super impressive bio and thinking about all of the things very selfishly that I can pick your brain about. So maybe first, before we jump into that, you can tell my audience a little bit about who you are and what your background is and what it is that you do.
Oh, I've got many hats, lots of hats. So basically I started my career as a swimming coach and worked my way through to the top, so to speak. So I represented Australia at the 2008 Olympic Games. And then from there, it was probably one of my athletes who was extremely talented that failed quite significantly, that took me on another angle. So back to university to learn about psychology. And then basically I haven't stopped learning since then, and now I don't only work in sport but in the corporate field, in schools, helping everybody reach their potential.
Fantastic.
So that's me in a nutshell, with a lot of other stuff that goes on in between.
I know. I'm going to say it's quite on the modest side, but that's okay. We'll dig into it. So maybe we can start there with you going back to uni and delving into the psychology of things. Did you find your answer?
No, it was probably leaving university, and I think going to university took me back to learning and being open to learning again. So it was probably leaving university and then, going out there and speaking to other people and learning what I could from other people that I could apply. And as I said, I basically haven't stopped learning since then. So I've gone on and done a couple of other degrees as well. Mm-hmm. And but just that, being open to listening to people. How can you apply what you're hearing from them in your own business, or how can it apply to helping other people? So yeah, I suppose it's that continuous learning that's occurred from going to university.
Yeah. And how has what you've learned since then changed the way that you coach or that you teach people to coach?
So again, I think it was all about, when I was coaching, it was all about success and getting to that top level, winning. Mm-hmm. Now I look at it and go, gee, you know, there's more to the individual. There's more that makes up what goes on in their mind, and it's not just about winning. And there's a lot of athletes in particular, and that are, you know, they just focus on the winning, and that's not really what they want. It's not really what they value. And I see that in the corporate world as well, with a lot of people that are very successful, and they're never satisfied because they don't know what they want from themselves, and they haven't investigated what their values are, what they stand for, and what they actually want to do in their own life. So, you know, helping others see that allows them to be happy and, you know, not be confused with what's going on and never feeling like they're ever a success.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because I work a lot with mums in business, obviously. And yeah, that first step is really figuring out what you want, and not just climbing the corporate ladder, or, you know, having the marriage and the children and the picket fence and the, you know, whatever it is that society tells us that we want or that we should want, and actually really defining what our ideal week or life or month looks like, and then going for that goal. So
yeah, that's so correct.
Yeah, so I would really agree with all of that. So once, I think we'll dig into the psychology side again in a little bit, but when you decided to start your own business, was that an easy process for you?
Yes, I think so, because it was in my genes. So my father always had his own business. My mother always went about doing things that she could do herself and not rely on other people. So I think it was always there in my genes, so to speak, about doing it, about starting my own business. I must say, not always easy. So being a mother, you know, I went through a divorce, and I've got 2 lovely children that had to be looked after. And when I first was divorced, some of the hours that I was working were just, you know, horrendous for getting help. So thinking outside of the box, who could I get to help support what I was doing? Was there other ways around it? Could I pursue what I wanted to pursue? And, you know, we always have that in the back of our head, that mum's guilt that goes on, you know, are we doing the right thing by our kids? And I think it was, you know, that was always in the back of my head. But there was a couple of examples I went and turned around and went, gee, what I'm doing, I'm actually helping my children learn some life skills. So, you know, that sort of was a turning point to me, saying, hey, I can work and I can look after my children, and they can have the best of both worlds. So, yeah, it can be done.
It's such a tricky balance, you're right, because that mum guilt exists, I think, whether we're working or we're not working.
True.
Like, I don't think you can escape it. It's either, oh, hang on, my children aren't in daycare and, you know, I'm not showing them what a working mum is, or, you know, they're not getting that social side, or that's the other flip side of they're always in daycare and I'm not being a mum, and or I'm grumpy or I'm rushed or whatever. So like, it's that mum guilt haunts us, I think.
True.
But so what did you find was a good balance for you? Did you ever feel like you kind of found the right mixture for you?
I think so. So I was pretty lucky and very flexible in what I could do with some of my hours. But probably the other thing I should mention is I also had a disabled son. So probably for the first 10 years of his life, we were in the children's hospital once a year having an operation to try and fix something.
Oh, goodness.
And I know that, you know, spending many nights at the children's hospital, sleeping on the floor there, and then getting up and going to work at 5 o'clock in the morning so I could be back at 8, you know, to be there at the hospital when he woke up. You know, they were the stupid things that you did, but you did do them because you wanted to, you know, look after your children the best way you could. And but yeah, I think I did have a lot of flexibility in the work, and I think my job allowed me to have that. Working for myself, I could, you know, get somebody else to fill in if I needed to, or you know, just step back and say, hey, I need to have this day off, I want to do this. So that opened the doors to allow that, and allow me to spend time with my children when it was important.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's great to have the flexibility. I think that's why so much of us go into this. Do you work with new business owners a lot at the moment, or a bit at the moment, or mostly kind of the corporate side?
Probably more the corporate side. There's a few people that I, you know, with new businesses that always come for advice, so I help a lot of people with that. But you know, there's probably more the corporate world.
Mm-hmm. And if I'm coming to you for advice as a new business owner, and really after that whole performance side and looking how I can best utilize my skills and get the results I want, what's the first steps? For me, the
first question would be, what would you want? Where would you want to be in 5 years? So whether it's a new business or whether you're looking for something else in the corporate world, as I was saying before, the best thing you can do is say, hey, where do I want to be in 5 years? Write, if you're in corporate, write a bio. If you're in business, write, okay, this is where I want the business to be in 5 years. And that sort of opens up your eyes to where you're headed. Because if we don't do that, we don't know where we want to go and what we want to do, and we fail to plan adequately. The other thing that happens is the brain doesn't like to go forward. It likes to go backwards. So it can't join the dots. We just don't know what steps we've got to take going forward. But when we know where we want to be, say in 5 years' time, it's really easy to work backwards from there. So I'll use the analogy of an athlete again. So, say they want to win a gold medal in 5 years' time. They know in 4 years' time, basically, they've got to be in the top probably 5 in that event to be heading in that direction. Another year back, they probably need to be in the top 30. So they can work back from where they've got to be and know the plan that they need to implement to get there. So so as I said, the first question is, where do you want to be in 5 years, or maybe even a little bit longer? Where do you want to be if you're very young? Where do you want to be in 10, 20 years, and work backwards from there?
Mm-hmm. And then once that plan is established, or that you've got those rough goals, how do you then help people to stick to what's on the paper?
So it's filling in the gaps. So again, asking a lot of questions around, so what do they need to get there? Mm-hmm. Do they need more money? Do they need more help and assistance? Do they need another person? So, they might want to take their business right to another level. How many staff are you going to have in 5 years to get that plan going? Mm. So, working through the little steps to fill in the gaps and create all those processes. The other thing is to stick to plans. I like the idea of sticking to plans, but there's always something that we may need to tweak along the way. So while we have those plans, it's always great to review those plans consistently. And I use the rule of 4, not the rule of 3, which is my favourite, but the rule of 4. So daily, weekly, monthly, yearly is what I say people should be doing and reviewing their plans.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just making notes because this is great. So then, can we talk a little bit more about that and get really practical? What do those daily, weekly, monthly, yearly reviews kind of look like?
Again, depending on the individual, but what we should be doing is, I love the idea of a visualization. So a vision board is exactly the same. When we draw it ourselves, though, we tend to fill in the gaps with how we want to see it. When we create vision boards, we fill in the gaps from people we like looking at. So it's not as accurate as it can be if we draw it ourselves. So, for example, you may want to work we'll use the corporate world, be successful in the corporate world. How do you see yourself in that drawing? What are you wearing? If you've got, a lovely handbag, you might be a fan of Chanel or Prada. What sort of clothes are you wearing? And sometimes filling in those details, if you've got, something pretty rough on, for example, like a tracksuit, maybe not working in the corporate world is the not right place for you to be. So just visualising and drawing it out what you think where you are and how you're going to be can give you a better insight into what's happening. The other thing it does is it opens up the reticular activating system in your brain. So there's this little part in the back of your brain, and if we visualise something and we see it really clearly, the brain, it's almost like a Google search is the analogy I use for that. So our brain stops us from looking at all those other bits and pieces and focuses just on those visions. So we see things that we wouldn't necessarily see. It's a bit like if you've ever gone out and bought a car, you never see the ads, but as soon as you go, I'm going to buy a car, you see there's ads everywhere for cars and what you like, and you don't recognise it. So that, by visualising it and by putting it on paper, that helps fill in the gaps. So that's sort of the bigger one. Then we break it down, and as I said before, working backwards, where do we need to be, what do we need to do? So the very first one is, daily, what are the first steps, what are the lists? And I tell people to use 2 really easy goals and 1 harder goal that's at a bit of a stretch. The 2 easy goals, when you achieve them, you feel really good about yourself for a start, and you go, yep, I can do the next one. So if you make it 2 easy goals, 1 a little bit harder, the whole way through the system, you're more likely to achieve them. The other thing you should do is you should reward yourself. So when you achieve a goal, how do you reward yourself? What do you do, for example? Annalise, do you reward yourself when you achieve goals?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm trying to, because otherwise life just goes on by, and nothing's important unless you make it important, right? Correct. So yeah. But
what it also does is we've got a neurotransmitter in our brain called dopamine, and when we reward ourselves, we actually learn. So we remember what we did and how we did it, which makes us more of a go-getter. It also motivates us and raises our level of dopamine. So the 2 easy goals and rewarding yourself just shoots that dopamine up a little bit higher.
Oh my goodness, there's actually benefits to like getting massages and stuff. I love it.
Yeah, so we're more stimulated to go do more, to make more goals and set them a little bit harder each time. And we know now through research that those people that are low in dopamine actually exhibit symptoms very similar to depression and can lead to depression. So Parkinson's disease is another offshoot of people that are low in dopamine. So if you don't set goals, now's the time to start setting them, because you don't want to be, affected by mental health or depression.
Start setting goals and start rewarding yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And the other one is a bit, so sometimes we set really big goals and we achieve it, and I don't know if anybody's out there's ever felt this, but the next day they're really depressed, really low. And it's because it was so big, we've achieved it, we've had the excitement, and just the combination of the excitement and the dopamine shooting up really high acts a bit like a sugar hit. So those people with kids, you know what it's like. You give them some red cordial, they're all hyper, and then the next day they're absolute little buggers. Well, it's a bit like that in our brain. So if we have a big, really big goal and we achieve it, we get a depressive day the day after. What you can do to alleviate that is make sure that you've always got a big goal that's leapfrogging. So you set another big goal. When you're getting close to achieving a goal, set another goal to leapfrog over that one. So you're not going to have that dopamine low.
So you never reach the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good advice. Thank you. So that was daily.
So yeah, daily little lists that you can do every day. And as I said, there's always, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, always 2 that are quite achievable and 1 that's a bit more of a stretch. The weekly go, what's your overall theme, so I always like to have everybody have a what I call a guiding principle that directs us. So is it going to help us or is it not going to help us? So, what's the question that you need to ask yourself about where you want to head? So, athletes, if they want to do well in a competition, is eating this chocolate cake going to help me or not? So is it going to help my performances? So you need to create a question that sort of every week. Okay, what do I need to do this week? And then think about what you do have on. So is this going to achieve what I want to do, or am I just wasting my time? And actually, I was reading a lovely article this morning as saying that maybe we have to have a don't list as well. So we have a do list, but sometimes we need to have a don't list. What shouldn't we be doing? What do we need to say no to?
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, when I find that really useful in my business now, and especially as we've been growing and now we have a team, to say, oh, do I really need to do this? Because is this going to move the needle in my business, or is this not? And if it is not, then I need to give that to somebody else if it still needs to be done at all. So having those filter questions are really useful in making sure you're utilizing your time effectively, and that's something I'm definitely learning at the moment.
Yeah. And just the fact that you've got goals, you've got a pathway for your brain to follow, basically, whereas, it's a bit like a computer. If you've got that, it just runs perfectly. If it's unsure what you want to do, and I know many people, I speak to so many people that just go into business and really don't know where they want to head. Their word is, I just want it to work. I just want it to be success, or I'm doing this because I love it. But that's not going to give you the knowledge on how to take it one step further. So just having those plans in place is really important.
Do you find that mindset is a big part of setting those bigger goals?
Yes. So my feeling, and I've actually done some research around this. So we found that people that set really clear goals that motivate them, that the things that they stand for, and that they're strategically laid out, have a better mental health than people with really ineffective goals. And unfortunately, SMART goals fall into that area as well, because usually when we set a SMART goal, so that's just one in the distance, a lot of people don't set those smaller steps on how to get there. And the brain just, basically invents ways, or is a bit gridlocked, and that's sometimes the reason why we don't have the courage to take that first step when we want to make change, or we want to go into a business like this.
So how do you think that we can build on that courage?
I think it's the easiest thing to do is, as I said before, is just have something really simple that you can do. And so what's the first thing that I can do to set me on this pathway? And it just needs to be something very small, just a small step. And then, and then another one. The smaller the step you can make it, the better it's going to be, because that'll help build up your courage. Sometimes it's not listening to the people around you as well, putting the mufflers on, because people will tell you why you can't do things. They won't tell you what you can do. They'll tell you what they can't do, because we're built to listen to negativity. We're built to give out negativity. So we've really got to change and be wary of that. Be wary of what energy we bring and what energy we want people to bring to us.
Did you say we're built to give out negativity as well?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
That's depressing.
I know.
Oh my goodness! So
it's a protective thing. So we with our children, we want to protect them. Don't do this. Don't do that. So we've got to stop that.
I was laughing at myself yesterday. I thought, I need like an iPad with different buttons going, stop, put on your shoes, and just different. Because I was like, oh my gosh, mine are 6 and 4 and just turned 2. So just in that really busy and my 4-year-old's a male, which I don't know if makes a difference, but I think from other mums are telling me that it is a difference, and she just it's like in one ear and out the other. Anyway, so yes, I understand.
Well, a little tip for you: don't ever tell your kids to clean their rooms, because it won't happen. You ask them, what can you do to help mum? Is there something little that you can do to help mum? And they'll usually turn around and go, oh, you can put my shoes away for you. And you go, fantastic. Okay, what can you do to help mum tomorrow? And just work on it piecemeal, and you'll get it done.
So good. I love this. That's a good tip. Yeah, that's actually a good tip. Because
when they get older, don't worry. I think most mothers are prone to yelling, clean your room.
At the moment, it's just like shoes, going like, we need to get out the door. Put your shoes on. Like, why do I have to say it 17 times? And how many times can I say it nicely? Please put your shoes on. We're trying to get out the door. Please. Anyway. Yes, okay. Negativity. I understand.
So you just need to ask the question, what can you do to help me?
What can we do? Yes. And in our business, I guess, be really intentional that we're encouraging and uplifting and say what we want to hear, I suppose.
Yeah, I think we do that more to people we don't know, but when we're close to people, that's when we're more negative towards them, because we want to protect them. So it's,
Yeah, okay.
don't, you sure you really want to do this, but you realise that, this and this may happen and you may not be able to have, consistent income or whatever it is. So we tend to give out what we think is good advice, but it's usually negative advice. It's very rarely positive advice.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And it is hard starting your own business. It's not easy, and it's not necessarily going to be consistent at the start, but it's possible, which is why I kind of do what I do to make sure that women aren't going back to work hating the 9 to 5 if that's not where they want to be. So, definitely all what I'm about, empowering women and uplifting. So I'm glad you let me know so I can be monitoring my thought patterns, even if it's not coming out of my mouth. Okay, so I was wondering if there's any resources that you utilize to help you in your business or in your journey, setting your goals or keeping your goals, or any of that, any resources that you utilize yourself.
Oh, you're so many. Probably too many. Online resources, I suppose I'm connected to a lot of people that stimulate my thinking. And I find that, if I can have shortcuts to that, it's even better. So Blinklist, which is a great little app that you can read a book in 15 minutes instead of 2 hours. So that's a good tip if you need to get information or you want to learn more. Blinklist. Online resources, of course, I use, I suppose it's the Trello to keep organised. I love Loom. So if your business is growing and you're employing staff, Loom is a fantastic piece of equipment that you can, show them on the computer screen what needs to be done, and they can watch the video back and replay it. So I found that to be a godsend lately. Love that one. But I think the biggest resources are going out and networking with other people and meeting, as I said right at the very start today, people that aren't in my field, people that do other things. I love going to leadership conventions. I saw, I've gone back, Brené Brown just recently, and that was fantastic. So a little bit closer to my field, but just exploring all those and having the opportunity to hear what they're saying and take it away. How can you apply it to what you're doing? And I suppose the other thing in my business is, another one is having the Google alerts go for what topics that I'm interested in. So if there's ever any news, the Google alert comes up straight away, and there's about 6 topics that I'm linked to, and I can see what's going on right around the world with papers everywhere to see what's happening in my field.
Don't we live in such an amazing time?
Oh, yeah.
That we can, you can be pinged with a Google alert when anything, relevant. Plus, we can get access to, we're doing this via Zoom, obviously, even though we happen to be only an hour or so away. And we can get access to all of those people around the world and learn from them, just like you were saying. It's, yeah. I'm in wonderment every day, even though I use it every day, but it's a really special time.
Yeah. And then, and what blows me away is schools want to take away phones off the kids. And I can understand the interference with social media at school, but that's how they learn now. Yeah. So, why are we doing that to these young children? But anyway, that's another topic.
Yeah, I'm so far off that at the moment that I've stayed.
You'll get to it quickly. It'll come around quickly. Don't worry.
I know. Yeah, time goes fast. Okay. Have you got any other advice for mums that are dreaming of starting their own business?
Oh, well, the big one would be, don't give up that dream. If that's what they want, go for it. Don't let anybody interfere. And, the other thing is, be careful of some of the social medias. So when we start our business, we have to put up content to get us known to our audience. I think one of the big things that I see is a lot of people relate likes, and it's more a vanity thing than the actual connection and connecting up to newsletters if that's what you've got, or connecting with you. So just be, wary of that vanity angle of having, 40 likes instead of, 3 connections. You want the connections, not the likes. Yeah. So that's probably the big one. And I think that's what a lot of people go, oh yeah, I got all these likes today and I got, 1,500 people look at this post. But the question is, how many connections did you get?
Yeah.
If you're not getting the connections, that's not what you want. So how do you better target what you're doing to get those connections? So that's probably one of the things that I learned very early on. I mean, I still like to see those likes, everybody does, but, is it translating? Is it helping you get the business? What do you need to do to get the business that you work in?
I literally just 10 minutes before this call finished recording a video on how to get more followers on Instagram and Facebook. But first ask the question, why do you want more followers? Yeah. Because it's just a vanity metric. So yes, I'm on board with that.
Great minds think alike, isn't that right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So a very important thing. Exactly. Why do you want it? What are you trying to get them to direct to? So what's the call for action? And I think that's not an easy one. It's not always easy to know exactly how to connect with people, and it's a matter of keep trying. Don't give up. Don't, and this is the other thing, a lot of the younger generations are a little bit more fragile probably than the older generations, and you're not going to succeed. They've failed and failed and failed again. So, have another go, change your angle, tweak something. Maybe it might be even the market, you might be directing it to a certain target market. Have you got the wrong market? And that's happened to me numerous times. So just tweaking the message, your market, or even the mode that you're delivering it in. So those 3 angles.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Joanne. It's been great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So
I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah,
I hope I've helped somebody somewhere.
Oh, you've helped me, if no one else, but I'm sure definitely more than just me. Where can people find you and follow along with what you're doing, or how would you like people to connect with you?
Oh, well, probably the easiest one, on LinkedIn. So that's Joanne Love, the last hashtag. I also have our website, proactiveperformanceaustralia.com. And we've got a newsletter there, The Right Path, which gives tips for goal setting and how to achieve in life. And would love the followers to hook onto that and get some advice there.
Amazing. Thank you so much again. I have really enjoyed this conversation, and I know everybody who hears it will as well. So thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Business Mumma podcast. I hope you got some actionable tips that you can implement in your business right away. Please, please, please rate and subscribe, and then head on over to mumma.digital to continue the conversation and let me know what you thought. Have a really wonderful week, and if you'd like to come and say hi, come to our Facebook group, Business Mummas. See you there.